Hey class, welcome to this week's assignment, which is going to be about possessive and violent relationships. Um, some of this may relate to you, but a lot of it's going to be information that you're going to need as your children grow older. Adolescence is when we start giving our sons and daughters permission to start forming relationships. There's one thing in this book that I use that I use for teaching, that's required for me to use for teaching. But one thing that I've learned when I read all this is that everything that they say points at girls. And folks, as a caseworker at Sunshine Center for their safe house, I can tell you that's not true. Violent relationships happen with male and female. It happens a lot, actually, and with the males, people just aren't really aware of how that can happen. I had an awareness of it, a small awareness of it, until I went to work at the safe house, and I realized how common that it really is for men to be in violent relationships. We're going to be going by the book a lot, and a lot of it's reading just because I'm terrible at memorizing things. But I think it's so very important that you get all the information that is in this textbook. So the way I'm going to start out is there's some statistics in some of this reading. There are things that surprise me, even as a caseworker that has a focus, who has a focus on helping victims of domestic violence. But anyway, the paragraph basically, it says that possessive relationships are initially confused with love. That means a lot of times with people who suffer from codependence. Codependence is when you feel like you have to rely on being in a relationship, and sometimes you don't even notice that it's a bad relationship that is too possessive. But anyway, that's what codependency is. And a lot of times that possessiveness can be confused with love. It's hard for us to see the difference in it. But anyway, however, love is unconditional. Possessive relationships are conditional. What that is saying is that when someone loves us, it's an unconditional love. They love us regardless. Possessive relationships are conditional. That means that as long as you do what I want you to do, as long as you say what I want you to say, as long as you're around the people I want you to be around, that is possessive love. You are a thing. You're not a person. You are a thing. They possess you. It's just like this ring is a possession. In those relationships, you become a thing, not an individual, not a person. And it can start gradually. It can start in a very healthy dating relationship, which is what mine was. And then when things become serious, say that you have moved in together or that you have married, then it's going to start to change. And sometimes those changes can be so small that you think they are insignificant. And all they do is, when you accept that, and they know that you've accepted it, that gives them permission, or they feel like it gives them permission, to keep getting worse and worse and worse about it. And I can tell you right now, from experience, those small things are going to keep building and building to where it's going to become physical. I've told you over and over and over again, I do not want you to see that person. You see them again, and they feel like it's their responsibility to smack some sense into you. Yeah. But I can tell you, I've seen nightmares in my job. I've seen a lot of codependency. I've seen these relationships, as I described them, starting out with love, what they felt was true love, and become, after a small incident and another one, the incident gets bigger and bigger and bigger. into where it's completely out of control and they don't know what to do. I'm going to try to use these lessons the best that I can to help you avoid those relationships, to help your children avoid these types of relationships, to make them aware of a bad relationship so that you can teach them. And one thing that I'm going to say right now is they learn this by role modeling. If they see that you are in a relationship that you accept the possessiveness, that you accept the violence, then a lot of them are going to feel like that that's the way things are done. And if they do find themselves in a terrible relationship because you've tolerated it, they're going to tolerate it. And that cycle just keeps going on and on and on. But you can be in a position right now to stop that. I also want to say right now that if you have found yourself in this type of relationship, call the Sunshine Center. That's what we do there. We help you guys get out of those situations. We help people heal from the situations that they've been in. We help provide a safe place where they can heal and be nurtured so that they can go on out later into the world and be a stronger person. But anyway, please call us if you need help. Let's go on with this paragraph. I don't think I'm going to get it finished, am I? There's a relationship between violence and self-destructive behaviors in teenage girls. 1 in 5 girls have experienced physical or sexual violence by a dating partner. That's very important to remember there. 1 in 5. That's a lot of teenagers. Here, once again, they start saying girls. Well, it's girls and boys. What you need to be aware of with boys is they will hide it. A lot will hide it. A lot will feel like that it's their masculinity if they tell people that they've been abused. Society thinks that males should be able to take care of themselves, to protect themselves, and that's not the case. So please be aware of that this happens with men and boys as well as it does with women and girls. Let's see here. 1 in 5 girls, blah, blah. We've done that. Many of these, I'm going to say people instead of girls. Many of these people admitted to risky behaviors such as smoking, suicidal thoughts and attempts, unprotected sex, drug use, or unhealthy weight control methods. And I'm going to add in there that just because a person has these tendencies and this unhealthy lifestyle, they don't deserve to be treated that way. What an abuser is looking for is to prey on the weaker. So if they see a weakness in you, weakness caused by an unhealthy lifestyle, then they're going to jump in there and take over. If they see that you are lonely, that you are wanting a relationship to be fulfilled, then that gives them easy access. That's what they should have said. And here we go. Teen males can be victimized as well. Just what I've been saying. Some teenage people threaten to injure or even kill themselves if a boy leaves them. And that's true. Our suicidal rates are going up and up and up. I wish I'd researched the numbers for teens. It's sad to see what's going on. And a lot of those are because of relationships. Sometimes we let our children start forming these kind of relationships when they're not old enough or mature enough to handle them. You know, that's where we come in as parents and grandparents to teach them, you know, these things are going to happen. I think we talked about it in another video about teaching our children about dating. circumstances and situations that can happen. I don't know about you guys when you were growing up, but I got dumped. I got dumped a few times. I wasn't allowed to date until I was 16. I don't really believe in an age anymore. I think it's based on maturity and what they're able to handle. If you don't feel like your child is able to handle rejection, then be very cautious in putting and letting them put themselves in a situation like that. Hold back on the dating for a little while. They may not be happy about it, but these are one of the things that we do to protect our kids from that type of thing. If I haven't said it in a video, and I believe it's your responsibility to start teaching them. You know, you can start working with them maybe a couple of years before dating is going to be in the question. You know, there's a possibility that you're going to get hurt, that the person you choose in your relationship may decide that they want to have a relationship with somebody else. Suicide's not the answer, of course, by all means. Encourage them to come to you. You know, if anything like this happens to you, please come and talk to me. You know, that happened to me. And I know how you're feeling. I know the thoughts and the feelings that you're having. And I can help you deal with those. Those are good conversations that you can have with your kids. Many girls remain in violent relationships because of the following. People see violence and abuse as common and normal. That's what I said. It's what they see in their home. Mom or dad is putting up with it. Mom or dad may feel like they deserve it, and they're going to learn from you being in that relationship that they deserve it when they get older. And nowadays, I guess I should add in there right now that nowadays it's a common occurrence. Excuse me. It's very common for one person in the relationship to be violent, to be extremely possessive. Maybe that person hasn't felt love or been loved, and they want to possess someone, anyone, that can make them feel better about themselves. But anyway, people who have witnessed violence between parents learn that violence is part of a relationship. We've talked some, or I will be talking some, depends on where you're at in the video, where you are in your classes right now, about violence between parents. That can be a lot of arguing, which can turn to fighting, which can turn to violence, and it goes on and on and on and on. A lot of those arguments and fights can be triggered by alcohol use, drug use, stress, depression, all sorts of things out there. But be aware of what your children are seeing and what they're hearing. When you, of course, parents argue. It's just, everybody argues. I wish it wasn't true, but I mean, it is. But keep that argument under control so that it doesn't reach the stage of violence. It's helpful if they see you handle an argument appropriately, to where you are respecting each other's opinions, to where you're trying to come to a common agreement. That teaches them positivity in relationships. I don't know if that was exactly a good term, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Some people aren't even aware that they're in a violent relationship. And that goes back to what they've seen, what they've heard. They've seen violence. They've seen emotions get escalated out of control. And when it happens in a relationship that they're in, they just think that's the normal. They think that that's just the normal way that people in a relationship behave. It's especially hard with divorced parents. Been there, done that. We at first, of course, there was a lot of anger and a lot of arguments. And after, I don't know, I don't remember, it's been so many years ago. But after a very short period, we realized that it was damaging our children and not helping our case at all. And after that, we tried to focus more on them and what was hurtful to them. My children respected their father. They respected me. They didn't need to see us disrespecting each other, because that made them feel like they were right in the middle of things that shouldn't be going on. So be aware of that. Try to be aware of that as much as you possibly can. If you're in a relationship where the other person will respect that, that's wonderful. If you're not in a relationship where that person can be, try to avoid those conversations when your children are around. Just respond to them. Can we meet and have a coffee and talk about this? Make it a public place. Let's, the kids are at their grandparents this weekend. Why don't you and I sit down and talk about it? If you know that it's going to get extreme, which I should have said. Another thing that is vital, extremely important, if you are in a violent relationship, not only call us, but first of all, call 911. Get help. Get help right then. It can escalate. It can escalate as far as death. But anyway, I just threw that in there, and I should have talked about it earlier, and I forgot. Okay. Possessive relationships turn violent when the person wants to date someone else. That's when you can hear, I love you, and if I can't have you, nobody else is going to. If you leave me, I'm going to kill myself. They could hear those kind of remarks. And then they may feel that it's their responsibility to prevent that person from doing that. And teach them, if they hear a person saying that your child automatically gets on the phone and calls somebody. This has happened in our relationship, and this is what he said or she said, and I'm afraid for their life and for their safety. Report them. Reporting them is not vindictive in this situation. Reporting them is caring. It's showing empathy towards someone else, and care and concern, that they get the treatment and the help that they need. And encourage your children to know that it's not their responsibility to stay in a relationship that becomes this type of relationship, to get out of it and to get help for that person who has said these kind of comments. Issues that contribute to involvement in a possessive or violent relationship. It could be insecurity. The abuser feels insecure about other things, and this is a way that they can get power, and they feel like that power will bring them security. They don't feel secure in their home environment. They don't feel secure in any kind of environment they're in, and showing power helps them feel like they do. Another issue that contributes to it is low self-worth. The videos in this class teach you about self-worth, how a person can become damaged if they don't have self-worth. And by the way, none of these are excuses. They're just issues, okay? So just because we're talking about them and because I'm saying them does not excuse the behavior. But there are reasons, a lot of reasons why an abuser becomes abusive. And that's what these issues are. I should have said that at the beginning of this. Maybe they have a fear of abandonment. They could have been abandoned in their life by someone. They want to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So they're going to use the relationship or the person that's in the relationship with them as a thing. You're not going to abandon me. You're not going to leave me. And this is what I'm going to do to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm going to threaten my own life. I'm going to threaten the lives of people around you. I'm going to do whatever I can possibly do so that I don't get abandoned. Another thing, and I touched a little bit, is power and control. Maybe they've been abandoned. Maybe they don't have self-worth. Maybe they are insecure. And the more power that they have, they feel like that can be their defense for these things not to happen. They may have the feeling like, if I had been more powerful, this person wouldn't have left me. This parent wouldn't have abandoned me. This grandparent, this aunt, this uncle, this whatever it might be. They wouldn't have left me if I had had the power to stop them. Kids don't understand things that go on in their lives. And as they grow, if they don't receive the correct treatment that they deserve to have, then this can be what forms their personality. Maybe there's some narcissism in there. A narcissist is, I don't know if you know what that is, I'm sure everybody does, but a narcissist, they go on many different levels. But when it gets to the very tippity top of the level, nothing they do is wrong. Everything they do is okay. They have a reason for what's going on. They have a reason for their behavior, and those reasons are perfectly fine. Some psychologists, they agree and disagree on that one. Is it something, is narcissism learned? Is it a born trait? We don't know. But things can feed a narcissist and help give them power that they don't need to have. But I think that was a tongue-twisted way in trying to say it. Clingy attachment. Maybe they want someone to cling to them for help, for love, for many different emotional causes. I want you to cling to me and nobody else. I don't want you to be independent. I don't want you to have any independence at all. Because if you do, then you're not going to cling to me as much as I want you to. Jealousy. Jealousy is a big one. We all have jealousy. We've all fought it, and we all know that we have it sometimes. It's a little demon in there, Maybe they're jealous of the relationship that your son or daughter has with you or another family member. They want to be the top priority in that child's life, and not you. So their jealousy will spur them to act in abusive ways. That's the clingy. You need to love me more than you love them. I'm the person that you need to turn to. You don't need to turn to anyone else with your problems or your insecurities or anything else. It's all about me. You need to come to me. I don't want you to look at this boy or girl in school. Don't look at them at all. I don't care I don't care if they are your friend. Doesn't matter. I don't care if if that person is your teacher. You don't look at them. You look at me and me alone. That's what these folks will do. And they will do a lot of horrific things that are just like that. Because they are so jealous. Because they don't have self-worth. Because they are insecure. Because they've been abandoned. Because they want power and control. All of these issues relate to each other in some way. And all of the issues we've talked about have a lot to do with jealousy. If they've been abandoned, They're going to be jealous of anybody else they feel is trying to take you away from them, or trying to take your child away from them as the abuser. Sometimes my words get so mixed up. Another issue that contributes to involvement in a possessive or violent relationship is neediness. Abusers are needy people. They need to have power. They need to have complete and total control over others. They need a relationship that they can be the stronger person mentally and physically. I don't believe that a lot of these traits are things that people are born with. I think that they're things that people are taught. And we've talked about role modeling. This once again, this comes into them seeing healthy relationships and what they should be. And then they'll recognize these things later as knowing that that's not the way that I've seen how relationships work. So I don't want to be a part of this relationship. That's what you want. That's what you want. That's where your focus should be. Another issue that contributes is anxiety. One of the videos in these classes talks about anxiety and stress and the harm that it can do. Abusers, can become very anxious. Maybe they have stress and anxiety at home. Maybe they're dealing with it at school. Maybe they are seeing financial struggles at home, fights and arguments at home that are causing them to be anxious. And high anxiety can cause a person to lash out in violent ways. And having said all these issues, let your kids know about these issues. Talk to them. It's very important. But also let them know, I can't stress it enough, that it's not their responsibility to fix somebody else. They're feeling this way and they're treating me this way. But if I stay in this relationship, I can help them. Professionals need to help them, not your child. It's not their responsibility to help. It's not their job. It's not their responsibility. If they get out of a relationship to where they feel guilty because they weren't there to help this person grow or to help that person prevent actions that are harmful, then there can be a lot of guilt. They can feel a lot of guilt and anxiety and stress. Hopefully they're going to be the type of children that will be able to come to you and tell you how they're feeling. And it's going to be your job as a parent to help them get through that, to let them know. And you don't have to have a destructive conversation against the abuser. You can remember these issues that can cause a person to be violent or possessive. I do a lot of on these things, don't I? Bad habit. Sorry about it. But yeah, anxiety and stress is very common in children, and adolescents and adults. We've talked about, I always say that, I don't even know whether you've seen the video or not yet, but there is a video that talks about anxiety and stress, as I pointed out. And in that video, it talks about the violent nature that can come out of us when we're anxious. But anyway, all these are issues that contribute to what makes a person be possessive and abusive. Be aware of those issues. If you have to watch this tape, pause it, rewind it, go back and forth. Remember these issues. They're so, so important. But anyway, here are some facts about possessive violent relationships and teens. This is focused on teenagers. Number one, the one that I told you, 1 in 5 adolescents have experienced physical or sexual violence by a dating partner. We hear a lot about date rape. Well, it's a real thing. It happens. And a lot of times that young man or that young woman doesn't even realize that they are raping someone. Teach your children to stand up and say no. When a child first starts dating, it's a really good rule to not let them date by themselves yet until you feel like they're mature enough to do so. It doesn't always stop date rape, but the more people that they're with, the more unlikely that that's to happen. Teach your children to respect other people. I mentioned before that a couple of years in advance before they become at a dating age is when you need to start teaching. Teach them to respect the person that they are dating. Teach them to respect the word no. No means stop immediately. Teach them to ask for permission before they're touched. If that person doesn't, that's not the person that they want to be around. If that person doesn't respect the word no, that's not a relationship they want to be a part of. Start teaching them these things. I know that most of you just have small children right now, but these children are going to grow. They're going to become adolescents, and these are the things that you need to start thinking about and working on now. You can start teaching small children to respect no. It's hard to do a lot with kids because they don't like to hear it. But when they start learning the word no and to respect it now, then they're going to continue to respect that word no and what it means. If your child comes home from a date or calls you and says that they have been sexually abused or raped, call the police. Immediately call the police. I wish I knew more about what happens. I do know. Just keep them in your presence. Talk to them, comfort them, teach them, we reported this and this is what needs to happen. I know this frightens you, but we don't want, I am so mad and angry that it's happened to you, but let's call the police. Let's have them arrested, and then they can't hurt someone else. Teach your child that if they do find themselves in a situation, to call the police right then and there, to call you, to call someone that they trust, that help them to get out of that situation. Give them the signs to look for, the signs that are the issues that we've talked about. Teach them that if they are in a relationship and that they see that this person is possessive, let them know this could lead to violence. It could lead to sexual violence. Make sure that they have a cell phone when they go out with anyone, with a group of people, a single date, whatever it is. Make sure that they have a phone. If you cannot afford to give them one of these fancy phones, at least find them a phone where they can at least have access to 911. I always make sure, that it brings up a story. I don't know why that just popped in my head, but and nowadays, and most of you guys, you're so young, you don't even know what I'm talking about. But we didn't have cell phones. There were paid telephones all over the place. And I think they cost a dime. My parents never let me out of the house unless I had at least 5 dimes. That was me running to a payphone and calling for help. But, thanks to technology, it's become a lot easier for our children to get help. And there are some signs to look for. There's warning signs in a relationship. And I'm going to talk about signs also that you can look for to let you know that your child has been hurt. Uh, but anyway, warning signs for dating. Number one, is the boy or girl possessive or jealous? Invite them to your house. That was just a known thing. I was not going to go out on a date with a young man unless they came to my house first. My dad loved to invite them over for dinner, or any other kind of family activity to try to read this person and see what they were like. If they displayed some bad qualities, then he let me know right up front. This relationship doesn't need to go anywhere. He didn't forbid me, because as we all know, when you forbid a lot of teenagers, they're going to do it just because they were forbidden to, and that was kind of me. But he would explain to me, did you see the way that they acted? We had a pool, and maybe they invited them to come over and grill burgers and swim. Did you see how angry this person looked when you were in a bathing suit? Just not saying that these things happen, but well, actually that did happen to me. But yeah, that's the best way, and that's a really good piece of advice, I think. Pat myself on the shoulder for that one. Invite them. Say, your child comes to you. I've met this person at school, and they've asked me out for a date. I really like them. I'm excited. Can I please go out with them? Well, how about if they come to our house for dinner, and let's just all sit down and get to know each other, and then try to feel that person out. That doesn't mean that, Dad, you sit on the couch with the rifle in your hands. I always felt like my dad was going to do that at any time. But anyway, that's a joke. Is he or she critical of your appearance, your physical characteristics, your friends, or your opinions? These are things, talk to these to your child too. But these are also things that you can look for. When they are at your home, do you hear them criticizing your child a lot? I don't like the way you look today. You really don't need to wear makeup. Other people are going to look at you. Boys or girls are going to look at you and think that you're prettier than you are, and really you're really just not that pretty. Those are common words that are said by an abuser or a control freak, whatever you want to call it. Do they seem jealous? It was great that your mom and dad had me over for a cookout and a swim, and I really like the friends that I met, but I really don't think you need to have a friendship with this person. They seem like they were your best friend. Well, now I'm your best friend now, and that's what we need to focus on. They can make it look really good. Oh, wow. They love me so much that that's the way they feel about me. As we've learned during this video, that's not love, it's possession. Are you spending more time together than with friends? They make a comment on, how about if we go see this concert, and your child comes back with, hey, that would be a great concert. What do you think about us inviting such and such? No, we're not going to do that. I don't like your friends. You don't need to be around them. You need to go to this concert just with me. Warning sign. Are there injuries that you deny having, or do you make up excuses for the bruises? That comes into a different category, I feel like. I think it's a category that I'm going to talk about next. Those are signs to look for. Your child comes home with a black eye. I tripped. You know that it's impossible for that person to trip like that and get a black eye that big. These can be warning signs. Anyway, I feel like that's in the wrong place. Do you feel embarrassed or reluctant to talk about the relationship? Maybe your child comes home from a date, and which I always advised, have a sit down, discuss the night. Did you have a good time? Tell me all about it. You went to a party. That's wonderful. Were your friends there? Was anybody else there? If they don't want to talk about it, um, if you feel like they're ashamed or embarrassed, that's just a little niggling thought that you're going to have in you that something's not right with this relationship. Why don't they want to share what happened at the party or at the concert or the after school event, whatever it may be? Why aren't they wanting to talk to me and share with me this information? Um, but anyway, the book doesn't have this, but a lot of these warning signs, I'm going to turn them around and focus more on what you can look for as a parent that might be a trigger to help you question their thoughts, their feelings, their the way they're acting. Um, Say your child comes home from a date, you say, how'd it go? Was everything great? And they look at you, they turn, they run. They run to their room. They don't want to talk about it. They close the door. Sometimes that can mean that they just had a really bad argument. But question it, you know, knock on their door. Can I come in? Let's talk about, can we talk about some things? If they say no, well, I'm sorry. I know that you really don't want to do this, but we're just going to do it anyway. And go on in. You know your child better than anybody else in this world. Talk to them at their level. Do your magic on what you do to help them share. They may accidentally share something that can trigger something in you that says we need to do about this further. Another thing that could happen, and I researched this, and it happens, they go out with someone, they come home, a few days later, you take the trash out and you see their clothes in the garbage. That can be a good sign that something bad has happened. Take the clothing. Do you not like this outfit anymore? I don't see any stains on it. Is there a reason why you wanted to throw this out? That's a good clue. Say that your child is really good at sharing during family times. You have family sit-down dinner time, and this child has always been bubbly and been in the conversation, making jokes, whatever it is, and all of a sudden, they're not saying a word. Something's wrong. You know that. I don't have to tell you that. You know your kids better than I know them. But you know that something's wrong. Don't jump down their throat. You're not laughing anymore at dinner. What's wrong? Johnny, do you have something you want to say about this discussion? What do you think? What are your thoughts about it? Mary, are you okay? I've noticed that you're really not comfortable around us anymore. Can you tell us what's going on? Have we done something wrong? Do whatever you can to coax information out of them so that you can be aware that something has happened. Maybe they've completely shut down everyone around them. They don't want to go on outings with their friends anymore. They don't want to do all kinds of activities that they've always loved doing and enjoy doing, and they're just not happy. Talk to them, coax it out of them, do your best to see what's going on. And as I said, report it. Report it not to your best friend. You don't need to report it on Facebook. Call the police. Report it. My child has done this and this and this, and I suspect this behavior has happened. Or my child just confided me that this is what happened. We need help. She needs help. He needs help. Report it. Always report it. Don't try to take the law in your own hands. Going out and giving that person a good thrashing is not going to solve anything at all. At all. That's not going to prevent them from doing it again, because if that narcissism and that control and that power has grown, all they're going to do is see you as the wrong person, and they're going to continue this. And not only has your child been hurt, others are going to get hurt as well, because that's what they do. They hurt people. They don't care if they hurt people. They feel like it's their right. And you giving them a good thrashing is not going to help the situation at all. Call the police. They're the ones who know what to do and how to handle these situations. If you're not happy with the response that you get, call again. Report it. Go to the police station. We had this problem. We report it. We didn't get any help. We need help. Just keep pushing. Keep pushing. Is that child doing terrible in school all of a sudden? You know, this has been a child that has had great marks in school, and all of a sudden they're failing everything. Get to the bottom of it. Do whatever you can. Once again, coax and coax and coax until you can get that information out of them. If you're not having success, all schools have child therapists on staff. Go to the school, talk to them, see what, and all of you work together. I'm still old school, and I do still believe that it takes a community to help our children thrive. Tell them your tell them your concerns. Tell them your suspicions. Ask for their help. They're good at what they do. And if you don't feel like they are good at what they do, then seek somebody else. We have free counseling for minors and adults at the Sunshine Center. Call us, okay? Call us. Let us help you get to the bottom of what's going on in your child's life. Maybe they have started turning to alcohol and drugs. There's a video that talks about alcohol and drugs, how a lot of people use it to make a situation go away. It will make that situation go away temporarily, but the situation comes right back up as soon as they're sober. Look for those signs. Anyway, I hope this video has been informative. As always, if you have questions, email me. My email address is cmsunshinecenter@gmail.com. If you think your child needs counseling or therapy, something's not going right, and you can't figure out what it is, call the Sunshine Center, 875-3495. If you are in a domestic violence situation yourself, call us, and we'll do the best that we can. I try to do the best that I can as a caseworker. And let's work on these things together and see if we can find a solution. Another thing that I'm going to throw in there before I throw these quiz questions at you, teach your children to look out for others. If their best friend comes to them and says, I went on a date with such and such last night and they sexually abused me, teach your child to come to you so they can report it to you, so that you can report it where it needs to be reported to. That's important. Sometimes children feel like the only people they can trust are their friends. Teach your child to be a friend, that they're not being a tattletale, that they are helping their friend by reporting it. Yeah. Anyway, that's the last I'm going to say about any of that stuff. But if you need help, if you have questions, concerns, comments, email me, okay? Call me at the Sunshine Center. I'm typically there between the hours of 11 to 12 to as long as I'm needed. Okay, so anyway, here we go with our quiz. Number 1, many kids remain in violent relationships because why? We discussed several reasons. I want you to give me one of them. Okay? Once again, many children remain in violent relationships because why? We talked about 4 different reasons why. I just want you to remember one of them. Okay, number 2. There are many issues that contribute to involvement in a possessive or violent relationship. Anyway, I want you to give me one of those issues. Once again, there are issues that contribute to a person's involvement in a possessive relationship, or an issue that can cause a person to be the possessor or the abuser. Word that both ways. Anyway, I want you to give me one of those issues. Number 3, name me a warning sign to look for that your child may have been sexually abused. I think we talked about 6 different ones. But once again, what is a warning sign to look for to see whether that might give you an alert that your child has been sexually abused? That's number 3. Number 4. Where did I put number 4? Put you somewhere. Here it is. Okay. I gave you a couple of facts about possessive violent relationships and teens. What I want you to remember is approximately how many teenagers have experienced physical or sexual violence by a dating partner. It was 1 in how many? I hope I worded that where it made sense. If not, just ask me. Once again, 1 in blank, many teenagers have experienced physical or sexual violence by a dating partner. This concludes this video. Please reach out if you need help. Okay? Thank you. You guys have a great day, night, whatever it is when you're watching this course.